Our next session is going to be an executive panel from SAP. We have Eric, who heads up the services industries as well as the industry clouds. And he's a fellow person from Chicago. So happy to have you, Eric, and looking forward to hearing from you, not just on SAP's broader vision, but also about how you're innovating with the various industries, which is even more important in today's world than ever before. Over to you, Eric.
Background on myself and an introduction. I'm Eric van Rossum. I work within the industry organization at SAP, and I'm responsible for all of the services industries from a development and go-to-market perspective. And I thought what I would do here today is really answer two questions. One, what does SAP mean by an industry cloud, and how is it different to what we actually did in the past? And then secondly, where are we at the rollout? For what industries are we ready, and how do the partners play into that as well? So industry cloud and what is different? Because I'm sure if I would ask everyone on the recording or the call today what they think is an industry cloud, you probably get, if you ask 20 people, 30 different answers of what it means. But for SAP, the industry cloud is actually a very pivotal strategy change, and it's going back to, I think, our strength we've had in the past, where verticalization is an incredibly important driver of value add and differentiation for our customers. And before we kind of get into the what of it, just to maybe tee this up, why this is so important, and what I think a lot of US customers and what I hear within the ecosystem talk about is, it really comes down to a certain degree, how can we optimize our existing processes from an automation perspective and become more efficient and effective? But at the same time, we're kind of juggling this second part where, there's massive disruption happening in our business. Industry lines are blurring. And while we're doing that, we're transforming these business models, and actually the business processes and the best practices we know are being changed, right? And with industry cloud, what SAP actually wants to do is not so much as, optimize and make the existing best practices of today efficient, but we're defining what the next generation business practices for an industry are in the future. I think SAP is well known for establishing those best practices in the past, and we're at that pivotal point to transform the practices of 2 months back. This is, I think, a great slide of our strategy to bring our customers to the intelligent enterprise. This kind of talks about everything we do from a portfolio perspective. We internally sometimes call this the hamburger slide, the way it looks. I'm not sure if that was the intention when we first designed it. But what I really wanted to focus on today, and Uwe, after me, will talk a little bit about this as well, is this kind of middle layer around applications, right? And how the Intelligence Suite, which is our application portfolio, works hand in hand with our industry cloud portfolio and how we're investing in that. The Intelligence Suite for SAP is really just all the applications which we deliver, right? Whether it's S4, Ariba, SuccessFactors, Concur. This is what SAP is known for. And when we bring that optimize and transform analogy back, which I was talking about, the mantra really here is standardization, fit to standard, right? Delivering those in cloud qualities to take cost out of the system, to take cost out of the processes, automate them, and make sure people can spend time on value-added tasks and not be worried about operational tasks on that part of it. So it's really a game of standardization. But then the question really comes, how do we differentiate? And a lot of times the differentiation and innovative processes happen at that vertical edge, right? And that's what the industry cloud really fits into that, right? We're reinvesting and heavily doubling down on our industry capabilities, and developing those vertical applications, which then modularly, fit on top of the Intelligence Suite, which from SAP today. But I wanted to bring this a little bit to life because it's still obviously somewhat abstract what I'm saying here, and we're delivering this strategy across all of our industry, which we go to market. But one of the industries I'm responsible is professional services. I think it's a process everyone understands. So I just maybe wanted to use that as an example to bring it to life a little bit, of what that industry cloud and intelligence suite, hand in glove kind of look. And I'll build this up, right? Because the goal we want to get to in all these industries is a complete modular integrated architecture for a certain industry. And before we talk about technology or any capabilities, again, it really starts with what's happening in the industry. And in all industries we see today, business models are blurring, industry lines are blurring, even professional services, which is, a pretty, I would say, stable industry for a long time. They were just selling, a derivative of time and material into the market. There's actually a lot of things happening where, they're going to outcome-based models. Talent networks are kind of completely shaping up the way we attract and deliver talent and projects. And we're moving from, just selling knowledge in the heads of people to actually knowledge as a digital asset and IP. And all of those things have incremental impact on what the value chain actually looks like, right? So when we do any of these things, we start with where the industry is going. We then define how that really transform the industry value chain, not just for today, but where it's really going tomorrow. And that's then when the capabilities of the suite and the cloud come into play. And again, just to make it a little bit more exact, right? I kind of took the bottom layer of that hamburger slide, and you see in this pink side of the slide here is that we have all these different capabilities which we deliver from a suite perspective, whether it's S4, success factors, our portfolio within that area. SAP is investing a significant amount of resources from development to further integrate that even more, create a seamless experience for the end users as we go through that. And I'll talk a little bit in a second from a technology perspective how we do this. But again, that suite is really the standardization, right? The 80% where we're talking about to fit the standard. And then the industry cloud really comes on top of these capabilities which augmented, where we really drive a lot of industry value. And and why is that important? What's the value add, right? And what's the difference? I think SAP always kind of try or delivered end-to-end capabilities from an industry perspective. But if we're very honest, right, it was very monolithic and you kind of had to consume the whole thing. The intent here really is to modularize it, right? We fully understand, you don't have an SAP wall-to-wall landscape most of the time. You're doing acquisitions. So we need to be way more agile how these assets fit in. And, it's not always the SAP backend how these industry cloud solutions would fit in. So it's really a modularization of the capabilities. And then when you kind of map that then to the end-to-end process, right? Because for you as a customer and an end user and your customer, it doesn't really matter if it's an intelligent suite component or an industry cloud component. We need that seamless end-to-end experience as we go through it. The difference though is as we go to 25 different industries, you kind of need to take that Lego block analogy of how you compose those processes and be way more agile and way more modular in applying this. So hopefully that brings it to life of what we mean by it. We're doing this in all 25 industries, and depending on the interest from your side, the SAP team can jump further in. One other, let's say, last aspect, which I think is really important, is the bottom, let's say, part of that slide is the technology. And again, I don't want to make this too technical, but there's a lot of investment from an API perspective, ensuring we have the white label APIs to make sure we integrate with other components out there and integrate partner solutions into this. We understand this needs to be completely open and it cannot be a closed monolithic world. The semantics of our data model and our process model, we're embedding within that technology layer so that partners like SuneraTech, for example, can use those services and those semantics and data model definitions to much faster develop applications on our platform and integrate them into that intelligence suite which you were looking at. So that technology platform becomes incredibly important to be able to open that up to the partner world for developing that. So then the second question, right, in the sense of what industries do you have this for? What does the rollout look like? What's the roadmap? And maybe to start, there's not a industry cloud for every industry, right? So, when you look at that box in the slide I was looking about, there's one industry cloud from an architecture perspective. We actually also see that there's a lot of synergies between different industries. For example, as I spoke about outcome-based business models, right? We see that happening in almost every industry where some outcome-based billing or monetization is happening. So we're leveraging a lot of synergies, and technically it's all within one industry cloud. However, the other thing which partners, right, which I referred to earlier, we are going to use even more than we were doing in the past, the innovation and the volume and the ecosystem capacity which SAP has to go way faster with developing innovation into the customer space. And 80% of what we're going to be doing here is actually going to be partner-led, right? And again, that's why, so in the call we're even in today with SuneraTech, they working with us. For example, one of my industries is higher ed. We're working in this area around processes in higher ed which are on the edge. Like I'll give you one example is housing is an incredibly important monetization stream at a lot of American universities. That's not an application we build in S4 or somewhere else, but it does require integration and capability models which does sit within our intelligence suite. And that's been developed as a sort of a bolt-on industry cloud solution where we're able to lock that into the processes which we position at our customer side, and we're able to then expand that way further out there. Supply chain is another area which we're working on. But the important notion here, partners are really the lead dimension, and we're investing a lot from these services and reuse services to foster that ecosystem of innovation. Well, as I said, we're doing it in every industry. However, we are prioritizing waves. So every quarter, we're adding industries to what we've launched, and we'll be deepening the functionality within those industries as well, or the breadth of the portfolio. This is what we've launched to date. We actually did our second wave this week, where we launched professional services, financial services, and consumer products. And we'll be adding almost every quarter more industries as we go into this different direction. And the end game is that this is the kind of fabric which we'll see in every industry, how we're going to go to market and how we're going to be innovating from that perspective. So hopefully in 10, 11 minutes, an overview of what the kind of overall framework is, how the industry cloud and the suite fits together. Uwe, my partner who looks after S4, will talk how the S4 piece fits into that as well. And we're looking to work forward with you guys to bring this to life and implement these industry innovations, and obviously together with partners at SuneraTech to really take these innovations to the next level. Thank you.